Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Dela Cruz. Welcome to WarriorCast. This is our podcast at South San Francisco High School. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the first episode on Filipino immigrant experience. If you haven't tuned in, it's still up on our YouTube channel, which is SSF WarriorCast Podcast. SSF WarriorCast Podcast. Today's podcast is on the Muslim experience, or the experiences of folks who practice Islam. And so we have some student guests with me or with us today. I'll have folks introduce themselves. You can say your first and last name, along with your age, or not your age, but your grade. So we'll start over here.
My name is Asad, and I'm in 10th grade.
Next,
my name is Farah. I'm in 10th grade.
My name is Eyad. I'm in 10th grade.
All right, so we have some underclassmen. They're a little bit giggly, but that's okay. Just so people that are listening are not like, why are people giggly? But you know how it is. People get all giggly. And they have blueberry muffins. Okay. Shall I start? I have I did a lot of research with the school, and then also did research on my own. I will let folks know that I am, I guess, a Christian. I don't know if I'm a practicing Christian. So for me to navigate this topic is going to be, I'm going to be very careful so that I do justice to this topic. Okay. I'll start with, so we did a survey, 41 students. We asked 41 students in the school, and we asked them what percentage of the world is Islam, that practices Islam. Do y'all know the worldwide population?
Yeah, it's 1.7 billion.
Sorry?
What 1.7? I have 1.5 billion in mine, but 1.7 billion. But a lot of people at this school, 41, and so I give them percentages of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so forth, right? What percentage do y'all think that they said was the percentage of Muslims worldwide?
20.
20? What about you?
15. Very low.
25.
Okay. Actually, most of them were right. The real answer is 24%, yeah? So 1 in 4 people around the world are actually Muslim, right? And it's considered one of the fastest growing religions in the world. Most of the world is indeed Christian, but we're seeing a rise in people that practice Islam, right? So most of people from Islam are from what countries? Can y'all guess?
Middle East.
Middle East, that's most of it, and Asia, parts of Asia, yeah? So parts of Asia as well as the Middle East is Islam. But 24%, did you say 24?
I said 25.
25, so Asad was the most correct, but most of them did say, 15 of them said 30%, 5 said 20%, but some people estimated as high as 60%, which is very high. I think that's more like reflective of Christianity. I asked them a second question from a scale of 1 to 5, what was their knowledge of Islam, right? And so their knowledge of Islam, most people said from scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being lowest. What do you think people checked off?
Probably like a 3.
0.5%.
No, we're doing 1 through 5.
Oh, okay.
So 3, 1. 1? Okay, most people did 1 or 2, right? Yeah. Most people actually don't know anything about Islam. So I think today is actually important for people to sort of recognize, okay, it's important for us to understand that. Based on your experience, what do you think people know or think they know about Islam?
That all Muslims are terrorists.
Okay, there's a common one, yes?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Allah is God.
Oh yeah, Allah is God. That pisses me
and
off.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, that's so...
Wait, what do you mean by Allah is God?
Like when we
say...
like
when the plane comes down and then it explodes, they think people yell Allahu Akbar when that happens. But
no, like sometimes I'm all like, oh my God, and they're like, oh, don't you mean oh my Allah? I'm like, Allah is just the Arabic word for God.
Okay, so there's a misconception that Allah is
a different God.
Like a different God.
Yeah.
He's the Muslim God or whatever it is, right?
God.
But in reality, Allah means God, right? Okay, so to clarify that, because some people are like, you guys don't Because I've heard people say, don't you believe in Allah or whatever? And it's like, yeah that's God.
That's God.
Yeah, but there is the fundamental difference in that. Well, one is Islam, they don't believe that Jesus is God. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, we believe in him as a prophet.
As a prophet. So that's why Christianity and Islam are separate, right? But even within Islam or even within Christianity, me being a Christian, there are different types of Christianity. There's Catholic, and then there's like Protestant, and then there's like born again, and then there's Baptist. There's all kinds of different sectors or divisions, right? Is that also in Islam? Is there divisions?
We have Shia and Sunni.
Oh, those are the main two. Which one is more people are
Sunni.
Yeah.
Sunni?
Yeah.
Is your family or
I'm Sunni. Yeah.
practice?
Are there two kinds?
Yeah.
Sunni?
Sunni and Shia.
Right, and then even within that, there's also different divisions. Here's the crazy stat I want to give you: 41 people. Out of 41 people, I said this statement. I have friends or family who have said Islamophobic statements or have Islamophobic views, and this was true or false. Okay, what do you think most people marked?
True.
Out of 41, how many do you think?
25.
What about you?
35.
Around
Yeah.
30-ish area.
Okay. So of the 41 that we interviewed at the school, 26 of them said that they had a friend or family that had Islamophobic views, right? So the portrayals of Muslims in the news and movies are very real. That informs sort of their Islamophobic views around people that practice Islam, right? And so one we're seeing is one, nobody knows anything about Islam. Two, they're around people that have Islamophobic views, right? And we're talking about Bay Area. Is this? What do y'all think about this? Is this something new, or is this something that you feel like? Is this stat shocking, or is this expected?
I feel like it's expected. I don't know. Because basically, if you go up to anyone, and if you ask them, like, oh, like, what do you think of, like, Muslims? Or, like, when you say Muslim, like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And they'll be like, oh, like, 9/11, or, I don't know, like, bombings or stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's natural for them.
They won't say, oh, good people. I've never heard anyone say, oh, like, good, nice people. Muslims, like, oh, they're, like, nice people to be around and stuff like that. No, like, first thing that comes to their mind is what they see on the media.
Have y'all experienced sort of verbal harassment or even physical harassment, or know anyone within your family or people who are Muslim that have experienced sort of being targeted because of your religious practices?
Well, my mom wears a hijab, so it's kind of natural. Like, the amount of people she sees in a day is like, there's bound to be a few of them who are just like stupid towards her. So they do something stupid, like if she's driving, they'll like give her a stare or something like that, and sometimes more extreme. It's just, yeah.
Has your mom always wore a hijab?
Yeah.
And so, how frequently have you noticed this? Or
Not often. It's kind of mostly just stuff you don't really realize. It's just stuff people do on the side. Usually stares people just don't like to associate with.
okay, so attracts stares.
Yeah.
Is it like a endearing stares, or is it like, watch out, she's Muslim type stares?
I don't know. It's just like,
It's like the disgusted kind of stares. Or like they quick glance and then they just look away and ignore.
exactly.
Okay. Like a let me check. Let me make sure she's not carrying a bomb type of thing, right? I mean, like, because I mean, you can tell if somebody's looking at you in an endearing way or like, oh, watch out type of way. I mean, like, my son is 3 years old. He's a cute kid, so they stare at my kid. I can tell if it's like a pedophile stare or if it's like a like, oh, your baby is cute. You know what I mean, right? If it's a pedophile stare, then come here, you know? Like, come here, let me walk over here with my child away from you, right? Like, I know, right? So, I mean, like, you pick up on these sort of things. Is there any experiences for you, Asad? Or family, friends?
I mean, people say the Allah Akbar thing a lot, like as if it means anything to me.
What does that mean?
I mean, it just means God is great.
God
but,
is great, which I don't
But in
understand.
their dictionary, it means like terrorism and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. How do you say it?
Allahu Akbar.
Okay. So I'm not even gonna try because I want to butcher it. Right. But it just means God is great. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think people. I don't know how that started, but I think it's because there are videos and stuff
Mm-hmm.
of violence and stuff, and then the people who are trying to. I don't know. It's like
Okay, people are watching bombings. They're not the cause of it because I've seen videos of like bombings, but there's like civilians that see it, and because in like fear they say Allahu Akbar, like God is great, because if anything happens to them, they'll have God's name before death.
So to clarify, the Quran doesn't advocate for terrorism.
It's actually against it.
Okay. So
that's what
it
people
does.
don't get.
So going on that, what do you say are the core principles of Islam? I know there's like the 5 pillars, and I don't know if y'all remember the 5 pillars. What are like the core principles of Islam?
The 5 pillars. There's Sawm, which means fasting during
Okay.
Ramadan. Zakah, which means you have to give some of your money if you have money to the poor or in the needy. And then Shahada, which is like faith. And then what is it?
Hajj.
Hajj, yeah. It's like a trip you have to make once in your life before you actually die. It's like to
To
purify.
Mecca. Yeah.
Yeah, to
The
Mecca.
pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And within those 5 pillars, there's also like lessons that y'all learn. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like there's lessons or practices embedded. Let's talk prayer. Like what's sort of the thing about prayer?
It's like you pray 5 times a day for each of the way the sun sets, from like sunrise to sunset. You pray 5 times a day.
What's the purpose for?
The purpose is to keep your connection going with God.
Okay. Like from a Christian, like me as a Christian, I look at 5 like that's a lot.
It
Yeah.
is.
It is.
It used to
It
be
is.
50.
50? Really?
Yeah, it did. It used to be 50.
Is it easy to practice though, given that like you're in school part of the time, or is the prayer outside of school? Do y'all practice?
Me, like I don't pray because I don't know how to, but if I were to pray, I think like during the times you can skip class and just like go find a place to pray, right?
I think usually you don't need to, so it's just mostly. It's not about time wise. It's just
If you
like,
could do it in the day.
if you have it in you to do it, because it's a hard thing to do every single day, and every few hours you have to get up from whatever you're doing to pray. So it's like it's hard. So for a lot of Muslims, it's not something they do usually. Like for
Right.
the good ones, they
Yeah, the
What
ones
if-
that commit.
But if it is weird within this and within like a school environment. But if it was allowed, if they allowed for that, like we had institutionalized breaks for folks to pray, would it be easier for Muslim students to pray?
I feel like it would be.
I know there's washing involved. Is there washing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you
Can
pray.
you explain the washing and the means of prayer, just so people have a visual of what that is?
Well, before you pray, you have to like be clean.
You have to have clean clothes also. Like
Yeah.
you can't come from work or anything.
Yeah, you
what's
have to
what's
clean
the
clothes.
symbolism behind the cleaning?
Because when you pray, you're actually in front of God, and like you have to be clean. Like so that way you can present yourself.
Same way, like if you go to a job, if you get dressed, you don't have like good intentions with the person because you want to like capture their eye or like like get their views.
Okay, so it's a lot that goes into it, right? The notion that like I have to be clean. This is very serious, and I also feel like it's humbling because I mean a lot of us. There's a lot of people that are Catholic. I have family that's Catholic, and they don't pray except for Sunday.
Sundays.
Yeah, and then when they pray, it's not like very genuine. It's almost like like sign of the cross, and then it's just saying the recited prayer, right? Does it feel like that for some Muslims, or is it more genuine in terms of the prayer?
it honestly it is.
It's
Like,
true.
when you do feel the connection with God and you actually like you feel way better about yourself.
Mhm.
It's better than having to live with the struggles of other stuff that you have to live with in life is better when you feel a connection with God. It's way more humbling and you feel more relaxed. Like during Ramadan, which is the whole month of like mostly just connecting with God, it's mostly like you dedicate that whole month to God, so it's a way more relaxing month and you feel way better for that month specifically, other than what you do in the rest of your life.
There's also the kneeling aspect of it. Yeah. Like, is it kneeling, or is it? There's another term for it.
Yeah, it's
The bow. You bow, right?
yeah, it's like kneeling, and then you have your hands out like this, like in front of you, like you're reading a book.
Right. So it's a very intentional movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people, anyone can just sit here and just like pray. Like as for me, I can just sit here and pray as a Christian, and it doesn't feel intentional. Like I can, at least for me, as someone that struggles with my own religion, right? But I feel like if you are a practicing Muslim, it's humbling in that like I'm bowing intentionally. I have washed myself. I have wore clean clothes, and I'm recognizing that there's a higher power above me. Did I hit the nail?
Yeah.
Did I hit the nail on the head?
Yes.
Is that the saying? Right. So I think that it does. If you're doing that 5 times a day, it's humbling, right? It's humbling where you walk away and you're like, okay, I am not the end all be all, right? Because in America we often praise arrogance and having supreme confidence, right? But with Islam, it's like a reminder, like, no, you're not that tight. Like, you're just a man. You're just a woman, right? Among those things. Ramadan. Let's talk Ramadan. What's Ramadan? And then how was your practice of Ramadan? Did it just pass?
Yeah, it was in.
Okay.
Was it May?
May.
No, May in the end of May and the beginning of June or whole June. I don't know.
So what do y'all do during Ramadan?
We fast for a whole month from sunrise to sunset, and we can't eat or drink anything. And it's basically to symbolize like the poor people, and then like people who don't have the sources that we have to feel with them. You have to like, because if you have everything in like life, you can't empathize for someone if you have everything. So I feel like for Ramadan, God says like, oh, like feel for the people, like feel what they feel so that you can be more humble in life.
Did you do how many days?
I did like, I think it was like 20, I think it was like 20 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Slacking.
What was that?
All right. Slacking.
Oh.
That's a slack month right there.
What's I know, but and just to clarify, do you have to do it? Is it mandatory?
It's not mandatory, but in the Quran it says that after the age of 7, like you should try to at least.
Okay.
But there are some like what was it called?
Exceptions.
Exceptions, yeah. It's if you are sick or
So medicine.
Yeah, if you take medicine.
You have to drink water to take medicine, but you can't drink water. So it's...
You can't drink water during the fasting?
No.
This is pretty hardcore.
Exactly.
Everyone, when people ask me like, "Oh, are you fasting?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, here, just have a sip of water. I'm like, "I can't drink water," and then they get all surprised, like, "Oh, like not even water, like not even a little sip."
And the funny thing is, they go, "So you haven't eaten in 2 weeks?"
No, yeah, when like you tell them it's in 2 weeks.
Obviously, haven't eaten in 2 weeks.
When they say, "Wait, so you don't eat for a whole month?"
So you have like a week left.
So did you do it as well?
Asad,
you did
I
it?
was like,
how was it for you? Like, how many have y'all been doing it constantly throughout the years, or
yeah.
What's the hardest part about it?
First few days.
The first few days are so bad.
Why? What is it? The adjustment? Like, what's hard about it?
It's the adjustment. Like you go straight from eating, and your day is usually like go to school, eat, and then do homework, eat, just eat stuff all around. But then you can't do any of that, so you feel like I can't eat. So like, what do I do? Like that's how I feel.
It's like when you go out too, like you can't go out because everyone's eating or like it's like not fun. Like I remember trying to go to the movie theaters or trying to go somewhere to waste time, but then like my mom would be like, "Why are you going to the movie theaters? Just to sit and watch the movie? Like you can't eat anything. Everyone's gonna be eating around you, or the mall or like shopping. Like it was so boring. So I just stay home."
What about you?
What's it called? During that time I help at a mosque, like for cooking and all that stuff. So it makes you feel like you want to eat, but you can't.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, and then I have to like move like boxes around and stuff.
So you were working during your fast.
Yeah.
That you're like, okay, MVP to you, right?
And like you have to, after you eat, maybe like within half an hour, you have to pray for like straight like 2 hours nonstop.
Oh yeah.
Also, the prayer after eating.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
and
like
then you
2
can only eat when, what times, or when you're allowed to eat?
It's after 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock or 7:30.
it's like after 8:30, yeah.
8:30.
It's been like recent past few years. It used to be like 7 o'clock. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah,
I
it's
just start
really
getting more.
time zone. Yeah.
So what's the maximum days? How long does the Ramadan last?
30 days.
30 days.
30 days.
Exactly.
It's exactly 30. Yeah.
Your 20 was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons why.
I mean, that did that make you more empathetic towards people who starve around the world?
Oh yeah, I like me being a young person. I used to be spoiled. Like I'm not gonna lie, my parents used to give me everything, and I used to not care about anyone, and just like myself. But then after I started fasting, I realized like my parents give me everything, and some people don't have anything. So I don't know. I like helping out now. I do a lot of volunteer work.
Where do you volunteer?
I volunteer at the library. What else? The Jordanian American Association. I help out over there.
And you've been doing Ramadan since 7, or
I think it was like since 8.
Since
or 9,
8.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Are you sort of in agreement with Farah? Like Farah? Farah? You're my student. Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
I mean, did y'all have a greater appreciation for like life, or the things that you have?
Yeah.
Like people will think like, oh, that's hell. Like why would you even
like,
participate?
why would
in
you
that
even
if
do
can't?
that?
Yeah. Then at the same time, like for us, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice month. It
Yeah.
really is. It's like super relaxing.
Yeah, family gatherings too. It brings you closer to the people that
Exactly.
you're like not really close with because you have
So-
family gatherings.
Those are like secondary benefits. Like one is the worship, right? And then there's also like, oh, it's a time for family to, especially then you're out of school too, right? So, I mean, that's cool. Yeah. I don't know if like, and I think I mentioned this to Farah before leading up to this episode, that some Catholics, they do like Lent, and it's like nowhere close to, it's like don't eat meat for 40 days or whatever. And it's just, or some people practice it in a way like don't eat meat only on Fridays because Jesus died on a Friday type thing, right? It's super diet, or it doesn't even compare to like the physical test that one experiences if they were experiencing or doing Ramadan, right? So I don't think anyone comes out of that. I don't think I've met anyone that comes out of that were like, man, I appreciate what I have more, or like they don't come out of that experience in the same way maybe you have just talked about, in terms of I have greater empathy for people that have less than me, or I want to volunteer or help out at my mosque because of that. Hijab, what's the hijab? Can we clarify some of those things?
Okay.
There's a common misconception that Islam is sexist, that Islam objectifies a woman. Have y'all heard those before?
Yeah.
What's all this about?
Usually they think that in our religion that like the man has a higher power than the woman, but I mean like I feel like in some cases it does, but not all the time. Like for instance, like in Jordan when we used to go out, or like I wanted to go out, my parents would let my brothers go out because they're men, but then like me, I wouldn't be able to go out because I'm a girl.
Is that attributed to Islam, or is that just attributed to like girls or women are more likely to be harassed and
I feel like because if they don't do that, they're considered like very like easygoing parents, and easygoing parents is like does not work out like in Jordan. because they'll start talking like, oh, like she's an easy girl, her parents don't care about her, and like they don't want to be sent out. So I guess it's like part of Islam.
Okay, I mean, but again, we're talking about a religion, 1.5 billion. Yeah, and so I was reading this and I saw conflicting articles that were like Islam needs to change, but then I also saw that there are women who are actually Muslim. Here, I even printed this out. That actually became like prime ministers and presidents of these Muslim dominant countries, like Turkey, Tansu Çiller, who was did any of these come to mind? Megawati Sukarnoputli. I'm messing up these names. These are all women presidents that were Muslim within these sort of Muslim majority countries, right? Mm-hmm. And so like I think that what we're seeing is that there is the Quran, and then there's also the interpretations, right, plural, of the Quran, right? Mm-hmm. Some people are going to interpret it one way, some people interpret it another way, right? Much like how people might interpret the Bible in a different way, yeah. But I mean, if you think about it, in all religions, there's a gender, and almost in all religions, there's always a gender inequality, and that the men are always leading, in a sense.
Usually.
I mean, like, have we ever had a female pope in Christianity? The Buddhist monks, are they led by female? Have we a female monk? Like, we often have. So I feel like it's far more complex to just pin it on Islam. Like, oh, Islam is sexist because, look at this example. But there is a span of things that there is a range in terms of how Islam is narrated. But the hijab, why wear the hijab? Because someone might say, well, that's not feminism because you're covering their face and blah 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 blah. What is this? Or they might say these women are forced to wear a hijab.
It's to I don't know what it is, to keep the girl pure. They believe that like a girl shouldn't be showing off like her hair or her skin because her husband's the only one that should see that after marriage, because it's considered that her purity and that she held it long enough for her commitment for the hijab. So
your understanding is around practice of marriage or practice of modesty.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it forced?
Depends on the parents.
Yeah, it depends on the parents.
Oh, depends.
Yeah.
Okay. So some parents might force.
Some not. Some might. It depends on how chill they are.
Yeah, like my parents, they didn't force it on me because I'm not gonna wear something I'm not gonna commit to, because you have to wear the hijab if you're committed to it.
Right.
Like me, I'm not the type to I wear a lot of tights and cut shirts. I can't show my arms or anything, so I can't commit to the hijab. I can't commit, and I like my hair being out, and I can't have it not shown.
But it doesn't make one less or more Muslim, does it? Or
honestly, I don't think so, because I've met girls in my life who wear the hijab, but I've done way worse things. Okay. Than girls without it.
Let's talk hate crimes, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Hate crimes. 9/11. Yes. Right. Actually, y'all attend a mosque regularly, yes?
Yes.
I've been to a mosque.
Okay. Has your mosque ever been vandalized? Or?
I think there was blown up. There was one blown up, right? Not here. Not here.
Oh, there was one, I think, in Washington or in Seattle.
There was one that was blown up.
They got burnt
Seattle,
down.
Washington.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So 9/11, y'all know what 9/11 is, yes?
Yep.
Okay, this is y'all probably were not born yet, yeah?
What about it?
No.
But there was a world before 9/11, right? 9/11 happens, apparently Muslims from Al-Qaeda attacked America with hijacked planes, right? Mm-hmm. And thousands of people died and so forth. And Bush passed the Patriot Act, which allowed the government to surveillance you, tap into your phones, read your emails, this and that. Basically, invasion of privacy, yeah? And then we also launched the War on Terror, which cost us trillions of dollars to find nuclear weapons, which they never found. I'm just stating facts here, Okay.
There was a movie too. It was made in 2000. No, it was made in like 1997. Forgot what it was, but they were talking about like exactly what happened on 9/11, which is funny because it happened exactly before, 3 years before it happened, and they were talking how they were going to blame it on the Muslims. And then 3 years later it happened.
Right. So I did some research, and I this is FBI backed research, right? FBI produced data on anti-Muslim hate crimes, right? Can you guess how many hate crimes for Muslims that existed in 2000, a year before 9/11?
Probably not a lot.
Can you guess? Give me a number.
Percentage?
No, just like in hundreds or less than 100.
20.
Oh, I'm gonna say 70.
Okay. 70?
20.
20?
50.
Okay, I think you're closer to 20 is probably more correct. Okay,
What?
so this is 2000, right? I'll show y'all here. And then 9/11 hit, and the number spiked all the way to 500. So anti-Muslim hate crimes spiked, right, in 2001, right? Now, this doesn't just affect any Muslims. They affected anybody that they thought or looked like Muslims. Like, can you guess?
Mexicans.
Maybe some, right? There's some brown
Oh.
Mexicans, right? Or people that were Sikh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
People that were just Middle Eastern, but they were Christian, right? So anyone that fit the description of what they thought was a Muslim or Middle Eastern descent, they were subjected to more crimes. So we jumped from about 50, 20, right, to 500 in a single year, right? Anti-Muslim hate crimes, right? Since then, right, and I'm showing them this graph here. So since then, it has never returned back to the original, yeah?
Even got more.
What happens is it dropped a little bit. Well, it dropped a lot of it, but it stayed within 150 range, right? Almost spiking up to 200, right? 2015, for some reason, also it spiked back up for some reason.
Was that the year ISIS was? Like, is that the year ISIS came out?
I don't know, maybe.
Only around
Yeah,
Let's see.
it could be.
I remember it was like 7th, 8th grade. So like
Yeah,
2, 3
when I
years
first
ago.
heard about it, I was like, what the hell? Like, Muslims don't do this.
Exactly.
So the danger is real, right? The danger is real for Muslim Americans. Does this, I mean, is this shocking to you, or how do y'all feel about this initially?
That, like, there had to, I feel like they're inflicting this kind of hate for some reason.
Maybe to show everyone that they're not with the Muslims. To like.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you
like
know what
on
I'm
the
saying?
news you hear like show like shootings and stuff, and then usually they have to specify what race the shooter was or what the person. So the shootings in Vegas the other day, if it was a Muslim, honestly they would have advertised it more. They would have they would make it such a big thing and stuff like that. But like usually I feel like when it's not a Muslim
They don't care.
they don't care that much.
Okay. So I think you're referring to the, like, if it's a white guy shooter, it's like the lone wolf narrative,
Yep.
right? He was the lone wolf with mental issues, and like, you know, but if it was like a person who happens to be Muslim, then they associate it with like Islam as a religion.
Yeah, like the people who are in the media, who are they? White people, other people like that, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, this white person bad. Don't trust white people. They're not good. You shouldn't trust them." That's pretty much putting hate on themselves,
Right.
which they don't want to do, obviously. But you won't find a Muslim like, in the news. You won't be like, "Oh yeah, it's a Muslim guy," and then they won't be inflicting hate towards themselves. They'd be doing it towards somebody who deserves it, on quote unquote.
Right. So the media. Do you feel like the media? Do you feel like the media has been responsible in handling like terrorism?
Of course not. They don't
No.
show anything positive about Muslims. Like, we have done so much. Like, we have foundations for like kids or like a lot of organizations, but of course, like, you don't hear about that because all they want to show on the news is the problems so that they get you to like think of like the bad problems to get you on like one side.
What are and so maybe tell me more about like these organizations. What do y'all do? Just so people understand, like, you know, because you know, I'm looking at this and like nobody knows anything about Islam or, you know, Muslims, and like what are the benefits of, well, one, how has being a Muslim and practicing Islam benefited you as a person?
Mm-hmm.
And then how does it benefit like the larger community?
We have,
Palestine, because you know the stuff from Gaza and stuff,
Mhm.
and they have hella organizations
oh yeah,
for like
Just speak up a little.
for protecting like the rights of
yeah,
the
Palestinians.
Palestinians, because you know how they in 1948.
Okay, so the Palestine, we all know that they've been displaced
Yeah.
in
So like
as
today-
now and then like in recent years, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now they have like a bunch of
Organizations to help, and like the Queen of Jordan, she goes to many different countries to help out like the needy, and UNICEF they provide like shelters for everyone, and they give them food, water. My uncle works with UNICEF, and he tells me that like he helps out like Christians, because we're like a Muslim community. We help out Christians, we help out Jewish people. Like we don't have anything against other religions, because in our Quran it says to not discriminate against other religions.
So acceptance, in addition to charity, right? Didn't you say, don't y'all like, is it,
One
like,
of the 5 pillars.
yeah, it's one of the pillars that you have to give a certain percentage of, what's the
Zakat.
percent?
2.5%.
2.5% of your income?
Yeah.
What about you, Asad? Because I feel like you have like,
Yeah, he's all quiet.
you're like, I got something to say, but I'm shy.
Got some tea.
The personal growth, because you mentioned that you do work with your mosque, like you help
Yeah.
cook and things like that. Are there things that your mosque or you yourself feel like you benefited from just your practice of Islam?
Well, it made you feel like you're not the only person with problems. There's other people with the same problems, like how to pray 5 times a day, or how to dedicate more time.
Okay.
And yeah.
What about you?
It gives you, honestly, it gives you a purpose, mostly purpose, because like you have a goal in life, and that's to respect God, and that affects you. Mostly the point is that you live a good life, and what you do in your life and the restrictions that we have are what make you a better person. So the bad stuff, you know, like you can't kill people, obviously, you can't steal, you can't lie, you can't just anything that would be bad for you, for your well-being, is something that we can't do. So that's why like it gives you more purpose, and it gives you more purpose, and like you know that what you're doing and everything that you have to stay away from is for a reason, and it's all for your benefit as a human being, as a Muslim.
I think we're wrapping up here, and we missed this word, jihad. What's jihad?
Oh my god, everyone thinks it's a war. It's not a war. Jihad is a struggle. It's a struggle. For instance, like, a jihad could be like me waking up every morning. Waking up early every morning. That's my jihad. That's my struggle.
So it could be personal struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like
Terrorism.
the Muslim agenda. You know what I mean? Like, right. So it's just like struggle.
Mhm.
Yeah. What is your jihad? Everyone experiences a form of jihad. And I wanted to just throw this in there.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that have built. I looked up Muslims that built America. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Fazlur Rahman Khan?
What does he do?
So this guy, basically a pioneer. He was Bangladesh. He's Muslim. He pioneered the way skyscrapers are built. Yeah. So the very infrastructure. So those tall buildings in downtown. Yeah. World Trade Center. Right.
Oh.
That came from the patent or the idea of how to build these towering buildings from a Muslim. Yeah. There's another one, Ayub Omaya, Ayub Ommaya.
What'd he do?
1963, he invented the Ommaya Reservoir, which allows him to do brain surgery. He is a neurosurgeon. Yeah. So he treats like cancer, and he also classified, not cancer, he treats neurological diseases, brain damage, right? And he's is one of the pioneers. And then we also have a bunch of rappers that are Muslim. Y'all know any rappers Muslim? Ice Cube, yep. Lupe Fiasco, Andre 3000, Nas, Mos Def, who later changed his name to Yasin Bey, and T-Pain.
What?
T-Pain is
No
Muslim,
way.
yeah?
What?
Okay.
T-Pain?
Yes.
No.
T-Pain and Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes is also Muslim. Okay. So these are guys that are actually Muslim, right? And then the first ice cream cone was actually invented by a Muslim.
A what?
The first ice cream cone. 1904 St.
I can
Louis
see
World
that.
Fair.
That's
Ernest
what-
Hamwi, yeah? Ernest Hamwi created the first ice cream. And then, of course, we have other people like Aziz Ansari. Y'all know Aziz
I've
Ansari?
heard that
I
name.
think he's atheist now, though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Or is he joking because he's a comedian? Yeah? Well, we'll see. He's from...
The one
He just won, what did he just won? What's that award?
No,
The award that the white people always win.
Oscars? Grammy?
Yes, Oscars, yes.
Oscars.
The award white people always win. Hey, that's the truth, right? Don't be mad, okay? Aziz Ansari won an award for his writing on a Netflix show, Master of None. Of course, Muhammad Ali, okay? Used to be Cassius Clay, converted to Islam. And then he was also good friends with other Muslim, Malcolm X, who was a huge advocate during the Civil Rights Movement. Is there anything you feel like you wish... is there anything that you would want people to know about Islam?
Can I clarify one thing?
Yes.
It's just that not all Muslims are terrorists. There are 1.7 or 1.5 billion of us here, because if we were all terrorists, none of y'all would be here.
And if we were terrorists, we wouldn't be Muslim, pretty much.
Yeah, because
we're not supposed to terrorize. So if you're terrorized, then
Yeah.
that means you're not Muslim. That means you're doing something wrong as a Muslim. So, like, connection.
Right. I mean, like, we talk about compassion for the weak, right? It doesn't fit, like, terrorism doesn't fit within the narrative of the pillars, the 5 pillars of Islam, right?
Yep.
Anything else? That's all.
We brought hummus to America.
Exactly.
that's so true.
Hey. Those things sell, yes? Those things sell pretty crazy. If hate crimes are at a level of like over 100 consistently, how do you think people can begin to fix that?
Make podcasts that say good stuff about.
have to show better stuff in the media. Like people who are in charge of the media, don't show all the bad stuff. Like show the positive things that we do too.
Or just nothing.
What she said.
Right, and I think media is key, whether it's a small podcast in a high school or having because I look at like depictions of black folks. The depictions of black folks are mostly negative. However, there is some wiggle room in that there is a BET. Yeah, there is wiggle room in that like there are shows that portray black people in a more positive light. But is there a show where it's like a Muslim family, or do we have an MET, a Muslim entertainment television? Like,
no, but I feel like NBC.
you know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of wiggle room. You know what I mean?
That's true, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like we're coming to like better standards with Muslims now. I don't know why, but like there's a TV show, Prison Break. It's set in Yemen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are Muslim characters in it that are not playing a terrorist. Some.
Yeah, not all.
I mean,
Some are terrorists.
Right. But as long as and that's fine. You can have a Muslim terrorist. Like there's a terrorist in every religion. Yeah. But the thing is, that should not be the only thing. That should not be the only portrayal or the dominant portrayal of Muslim. Like you can have Asian guys that do karate. Yes, Asian guys do karate. Yeah, but that should not be the only or the most dominant portrayal on television. Like then there needs to be a balance of that. Yeah. Okay, I'll do a couple of shout outs for this episode. Before we end, I want to thank our guests, Farah, Asad, Eyad for coming in and dropping us some experience, some knowledge about Islam. Yeah, over here dancing a little bit. I want to thank Andre Mostiero for making our logo, Christina Cruz for doing the research and survey for this piece, Andrew Aguilar for the music, and everyone that tuned in and listened to the podcast. Again, we are SSF WarriorCast podcast. Find us on YouTube. Please share this widely because we want to make a less Islamophobic world. I think that's it, yeah?
Holla.